Hello YouTube, my name is Isabella and today I'm going to be talking about the 10 books I will be reading in the next year. I say I will for I am someone who will post a video and kind of totally forget what I just said or about the books that I would like to read, but no, I've compiled a list of 10 books that I will be reading next year, and if I do not read them in 2018, I will have to get rid of them. Basically the same challenge I did in the summer. I did one over 3 months. I gave myself 10 books and I had to read 8 of them, or I had to get rid of the ones I hadn't read because my backlist TBR is not great. Some of these are super shameful that I haven't gotten to and I don't understand why, and I guess I need the push. I will be reading these 10 books in the next year, so help me God. So the first book I will be reading next year is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I read 1,000 Splendid Suns in 2017 kind of on a whim, and it blew me away, and it was one of my most favorite reads of the year. The year's not quite over yet, but I already know it's going to be in my top 10. Now I just want to read all of Khaled Hosseini's books. This kind of was a bad book to start off with because I don't actually know what this one was about. However, I don't really want to know. I went into 1,000 Splendid Suns entirely blind. I've had friends who've read this and really liked it, so I trust Hosseini and I trust in my friends, and this one I really want to get to and will be getting to in the next year. The next book I will be reading is Library of Souls by Ransom Riggs. Now I have been reading the Miss Peregrine's trilogy for what feels like forever. I mean, I bought it when I knew I wasn't loving this series so much, but I do want to finish it, and one of my goals for next year is to finish more series and a lot of the ones that I have on the go. The next book I have to get to in 2018 is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This book is so popular on BookTube, and I've been meaning to read it basically since I've heard the first good stuff about it on BookTube. I'm so sad that I haven't gotten to it yet. It's really short and it's supposed to be magical and super diverse. It basically follows kids who have experienced a portal fantasy, essentially the wardrobe in the Chronicles of Narnia. These kids actually found homes in the places that they went. However, unfortunately, for reasons unknown, they were forced back into their own world and have to cope with it. And I believe its Own Voices rep for asexuality, which I've never read before, and it's super short and everyone loves this series, and I know I'm gonna love it too. It's just a matter of time from when I pick it up. And the next one is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. I never quite get the synopsis right, but it's a dystopian and I believe people can communicate in their minds, and that's all I really know about it. The movie is coming out in 2018 and it's going to be a big movie. Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley are our two leads, which are people I love. I will be reading The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. Now this is also a book in which I kind of get the synopsis wrong, but this too is a dystopian. Our main character is kind of living in a safe zone with her parents, who are either religious fanatics or they are creating their new religion, trying to lead the population into this new kind of, not chapter in world's history, but this new thing. The world is falling to pieces. I haven't heard too many things about it, but I have heard it be very greatly reviewed, and I just found out that this isn't a standalone, which is kind of a bummer because I really want to read more standalones. This next book I'm so embarrassed I haven't read yet, and it is Homegoing by Ya Jassi. When this book came out in late 2016, I was dying to read it. I was at my local bookstore multiple times and I would just look at it and want it. I couldn't justify the $32. Then I found it at a used book sale and I got it for $4, and I haven't read it, and it is legit almost a crime. I have heard not a single bad thing about this book, and it is essentially a multi-generational novel between two sisters who never met. The story begins in Africa. One sister is sold into slavery and the other one marries. Follows their two separate lives and their children's lives up until 1960s America, and basically how slavery hasn't actually been abolished and it's just taken into a new form. I think it won a ton of awards. It was on everyone's favorites list of 2016, and it's just this one is super bad that I haven't gotten to it. Another one that I'm dying to read is Dumplin by Julie Murphy. I bought this book a long time ago, and I actually recently met Julie Murphy, and she was so sweet and so great. And Dumplin's being made into a movie. Like, this one too is getting pretty big release, and I'm dying to read this book. It follows our main character, Willowdean, who decides to enroll in her mother's beauty pageant. However, Willowdean is fat, and in the beauty pageant world, that's not typically a thing. And I believe there is a romance in here, and I'm very excited for this one. This one too, I'm also super embarrassed to not have read, and it is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I've heard fantastic things about this book. It is supposed to be a brutal adult high fantasy book following all women of color, and the only thing I really know about the plot is that I believe in the place in the fantasy world that we are in, the world ends every 1,000 years or something. The world is ending and there's nothing that can be done, so our characters have to make the decisions to do their best and survive the best way possible, which sounds so interesting, and I love morally gray characters, or characters who do the best that they can in a situation. This next one is going to make a lot of people cringe, but I'm not so sad about. However, I do need the motivation to finish it, and it is Fwire by Sarah J. Maas. I actually pre-ordered this book, and I got it in the mail, and it's been sitting there since release day. I need the extra push to finish the trilogy because I know I'm not going to continue on with the trilogy. However, I want to finish more series. I need to get this one done. Like, I pre-ordered it, I need to read it. And the final book I have not read. It feels like everyone and their mother has read this book, but it is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This is a Canadian author, which makes me super excited, but it basically follows a theater troupe that goes around from colony to colony, putting on shows in a dystopian future. As you can see, I still really like dystopia. I never burnt myself out of it with the whole YA craze, but this one is supposed to be really interesting because it doesn't focus on the dystopian element. It's really supposed to be a character study, slow-paced and slow-burning, and there's a couple on this list that I cringe every time I think that I have not read them. But again, like all of these books I have mentioned, I will be reading this next year, and if I don't, then I have to get rid of it. So it's do or die. So those were the 10 books that I will be reading in 2018. And if you are a booktuber who has made this video and 10 books, 15 books that you'd like to read in 2018, please don't take offense to the fact that I'm making myself read them. I just need the extra push on a lot of these books. I would like to know some of the books that you want to get to next year. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.